All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming in. We'll go ahead and start our presentation. Go ahead, Anita.
Can you go back, please? I don't see the interpreter. Now I see the interpreter. Have we started? Very good. Growing up bilingual. Sign, spoken language, and native languages for our deaf and hard of hearing children.
I want to welcome everyone. We're so glad you're here for today's conversation on a topic that's close to many of our hearts. Should I only speak English to All right, I apologize. It's a little noisy, so I didn't want to have so much background noise. Let me start again. I do apologize. I want to welcome everyone. We are so glad you're here today in our conversation on a topic that's close to many of our hearts. Should I only speak English to my deaf or hard of hearing child?
Hello, everyone. My name is Anita Cervantes Bowen. I grew up as part of my second deaf generation and the fourth generation of Polish American heritage from my mother's side. On my father's side, I am part of the third generation of Spanish and Mexican heritage. I grew up on the south side of Chicago, and I have served as a deaf parent guide since 2012. And I have 4 deaf, hard of hearing, deaf-blind children who use American Sign Language and spoken English. With our relatives, we use Polish and Spanish as our native home sign languages.
I am Mayra Nava, and I am a first generation born from Mexican family. I grew up speaking Spanish primarily and then learned English in school. I am a senior bilingual parent guide with Illinois Hands and Voices Guide by Your Side since 2022. And I am a parent of 2 children. My oldest is 12, and she was born with a genetic disorder. And my second child is 9, and he was born deaf. And in our home, we do expose all of our children to English, Spanish, and American Sign Language.
What is multilingual teaching? A description is. This presentation shares what research shows that using your home language, whether it's Spanish, Polish, or another language, along with American Sign Language, strengthens family communication and supports your child's overall language development. Learn simple, practical ways to nurture bilingual and trilingual growth with love, connection, and confidence. Our history, over 90% of deaf and hard of hearing children are born to hearing parents who do not know sign language at birth. Early access to a fully accessible language, either spoken or signed, is one of the strongest predictors of academic and social success.
Research shows that bilingual or trilingual deaf and hard of hearing children, for example, American Sign Language plus English plus Spanish plus Polish, can thrive linguistically and cognitively when given consistent across access to all languages. Families who maintain their home language while adding ASL or English report stronger family bonds and cultural identity. Our vision, number one, language access for every child. Every deaf and hard of hearing child deserves full access to communication through American Sign Language, English, and their family home language. Language access from the very beginning opens the door to learning, connection, and identity. Number two, empowered and connected families. Families should feel confident using the language that reflects their hearts and cultures. When parents communicate naturally in American Sign Language, Spanish, Polish, English, or any home language, their children thrive emotionally, socially, and academically. And lastly, a future built on pride and belonging. When we envision a world where every child grows up feeling proud of who they are, confident in every language they use, and deeply connected to both their deaf and hearing communities. Myths and facts that maybe many of you have heard before or might be new to you today. Myth number one, learning more than one language will confuse my child. Anita, the fact,
This is the interpreter. Anita, do you see me now? Perfect. Facts. Number one, deaf and hard of hearing children can learn more than one language, just like hearing children. As long as they have clear and consistent access to language through hearing, vision, or both.
myth number two, I should only speak English so my child can succeed in school.
The facts. Your child benefits from hearing and seeing your strongest language. Using Spanish, Polish, or another home language helps build a rich foundation for learning English and reading later.
And last myth, if I'm not fluent in sign language yet, I should only use English.
The facts. Keep using your native language while you learn to sign. What matters most is love, communication, and connection, not perfection.
Tips for parents. Speak or sign in the language you're most comfortable with. That helps your child learn naturally. Use both languages in daily routine. For example, say a word in Polish or Spanish and sign or show it in English. Expose your child to sign language early for full access to communication if you desire to learn and use American Sign Language in the home. Read books in both languages, even picture books count. Celebrate your family's culture, songs, stories, and traditions built on identity and pride. Here at Illinois Hands and Voices Guide by Your Side, our team consists of deaf and hard of hearing guides. They are deaf adults that can share with you their lived experiences, their perspectives, and their encouragement, and they even can support you in any questions or curiosities you might have regarding deafness, living and growing up as a deaf child, and how interactions within the world, they can help you support and navigate your child's life. Parent guides. They are parents of deaf children. Parent guides support families that have children that are deaf or hard of hearing. As a parent, we understand the struggles and the journey that sometimes can be unexpected, but we are here to support and guide you guys along the way. And lastly, we have our board of directors that are a partnership and association with parents of deaf and hard of hearing children and professionals who work within deaf and hard of hearing children as well. Research. Language access matters more than language choice. The most important factor for deaf and hard of hearing children development is consistent access to a natural, fluent language from birth, not which specific language it is. Children thrive when they can communicate freely and emotionally with their caregivers. Speaking your native language allows for richer, more natural interaction.
This is the interpreter. Anita's struggling to see the interpreter. Can you spotlight me, please? Sorry about that. So using the home language strengthens family bonds. Number one, when parents switch to English, especially if they're not fluent, communication often becomes limited and less emotionally connected. Number two, studies show that this can negatively affect attachment, identity, and family cohesion. Number three, continuing the home language supports cultural identity, family relationships, and emotional well-being.
Multiple languages do not confuse deaf and hard of hearing children. Research shows that bilingual or trilingual deaf and hard of hearing children, for example, learning American Sign Language, English, and Spanish, can develop strong skills in all languages when given access and support. Bilingualism may actually enhance cognitive flexibility, literacy, and problem solving. The National Association of the Deaf and the Joint Committee of Infant Hearing both recommend providing exposure to all accessible languages available to the children, including the family home language.
While the risk is not, quote, too many languages, the risk is too little access. Language deprivation happens when a child doesn't get consistent, accessible input. For many deaf and hard of hearing children, adding sign language ensures a full visual pathway to language, while at the same time, parents maintain their spoken home language naturally.
Families can blend languages and modalities. Use your native language for daily communication and emotional connection. Encourage sign language or visual support to ensure understanding if choosing to use ASL. Support English literacy through reading teachers and therapists. This model, sometimes called bimodal bilingualism, is common and successful around the world.
Our goals: early and full language access. Ensure that every deaf and hard of hearing child has early, consistent access to communication in all the languages that shape their world. ASL, English, and their family's home language. Next is empowered and informed families. And how we do that is to equip parents with the confidence and knowledge to use the language that feels most natural and loving. Understanding that multilingualism is a strength that supports growth and connection. And third, lifelong success and belonging. That means we are promoting a language-rich environment, cultural pride, and educational equity so every child can reach their full potential. Linguistically, academically, and emotionally. Those are our goals. This is a little bit about us. Illinois Hands and Voices, guide by your side. Hello, again, it's me. I would like to share a personal experience myself growing up as a deaf child. My first language is American Sign Language from my parents, who are also deaf. I attended a private school, learning the English language and its literacy. I became a deaf parent to my 4 deaf and hard of hearing deafblind children who spend a very long time with my paternal hearing grandmother. Grandmother who taught us about who we are with our disabilities and cultures in both worlds, hearing and deaf society, and our languages. I would like to share with you the next slide about where I learned multilingual languages from my grandparents, my parents, and additional relatives. I am with Hands and Voices, Guide by Your Side, where I work with deaf and hearing families and their deaf and hard of hearing children. Been now for 13 years as a deaf parent guide, and this helps me understand their multicultural lives and multilingual languages.
And about me. As I said previously, I'm first born here in the United States from Mexican parents. So I grew up learning Spanish. In my home, that's my first language. I did not learn English until I went to school. And going home, my parents did not allow us to speak English in the home. We had to keep Spanish at home and English at school because my parents really wanted me to make sure that we learned the Spanish language and not lose it. As a parent of a deaf child, I have to now look at the best interests for my son as he was born deaf into a Spanish speaking family. And we decided to look at different modalities and explore everyone. And to this date, I still continue to explore different multicultural and modalities for him.
Generational history. This is where I come from, both from my deaf parents, my maternal Polish family, and my maternal Polish and paternal Hispanic family. Here's a photo on the top left of my mother's grandmother. Her name is Esther. My great grandmother is on the left side. And Edith, my grandmother, is on the right side. She is my mother's mother. They came from a traditional Polish generation. The second photo on the lower left side shows all of my mother's sisters. At the top is Lydia. Vivian is on the right-hand side. She's my mom. She's the only deaf sibling. Eleanor is on the lower left side. And the youngest is Evelyn at the bottom. They all speak Polish and English and their home Polish sign language to communicate with my mom. And she also learned lip reading in both languages with them. When my mother went to school in a special deaf program, learning English and spoken language and reading and writing, she also learned American Sign Language from her deaf peers during recess, where she brought American Sign Language home and shared it with her grandmother, her mother, and her sisters, where they all grew up with a great support for multilingual languages and strong family values. They carried their Polish culture and food traditions to me, and that was how I was taught by my mom, including my maternal aunts with whom I grew up. The next photo in the lower center, on the far left, going from left to right, with my two daughters, Rosie, Rachel, and myself as deaf adults, with my aunt, Eleanor, and her son, Tony Jr. He's on the far right with his wife and son. They are all hearing individuals with a very strong Polish background. We can all communicate together with our multilingual languages without any communication barriers. I thank my mom for teaching us the Polish language, its culture, and American Sign Language when we were young, even when my mom taught her sisters when they were young. I am happy to be a part of this multilingual language. Now, you can see at the far right a black and white photo of my father's Hispanic family. They're standing there. My father's name is Frank. He's in the center, and he is deaf. The first sibling with a graduation cap at the Kansas School for the Deaf. That was in 1951. His first language is Spanish, native home sign language, with his parents from birth until he was 8 when he enrolled in KSD. In between my father's parents is my grandmother, Edna. She's from Mexico. And on the side is my grandfather, Frank Sr. His heritage is from Spain. On the right-hand side, we're originally were born in Mexico and then moved to Kansas. His siblings are his sisters who born hearing, speaking Spanish, and learned to speak English from their schools while their parents were only speaking Spanish. Their daughters taught their parents to speak English and encouraged my grandparents to take English as a second language class, learning to read and write while my dad attended KSD, learning English literature and American Sign Language. He taught his parents and siblings to use ASL and keep Spanish native home sign language with his Hispanic aunts, uncles, and cousins so they could communicate with my dad all at the same time. He taught them to include American Sign Language. That was how I grew up, learning Spanish, native home sign language with my dad and my family. My grandmother taught me Spanish as well, plus learning about their culture and holiday traditions. If you can see, at the top center photo are my daughters, Rachel at the left and Rosie at the far right, with me with the white jacket and with my dad as 4 deaf adults and his hearing mother, my grandmother, that is sitting at my daughter's with my daughter's great grandma, where we grew up learning the Spanish language. Thanks to my dad and my grandmother for teaching us where we learn in our multilingual languages. My daughters and I feel a great attachment to both sides of my parents' multicultural lives. Both sides of families who can communicate with us, because there is so much fun learning together with home native speaking and sign language in Polish and Spanish, including American Sign Language, because of our family bonds, our healthy interaction, and our precious generational history and our multilingual skills.
All right, it's my turn. Thank you, Anita. Your family generation history, so inspiring. I truly appreciate you sharing your story with us. When it comes to me, kind of in this perspective as a parent for my son who was born deaf. And to be honest, at the beginning, I was like, yes, Spanish, English, sign. I knew from the beginning I wanted to expose them to all of it. And along my journey, there was a professional that, suggested maybe just focus on English. It'll help him understand. I can use them with a lot of other languages. And I was a first parent of a deaf child, and he's the only deaf person in the family that has um, that was born deaf. So I didn't really have that much guidance on, what to believe, what to know. So I said, okay, I'll focus on English and sign language. However, I learned along the way that that is impossible. We will be we will be exposing him, or he was, and still to this day, exposed to a lot of Spanish. It is hard not to, especially when your grandparents, grandma, and cousins all speak Spanish. We interact, we do traditional family things, we do the piñata for the birthday, we do tamales during Christmas, and it's just very difficult. So I decided, you know what? I know what's best for my family, and I want him to learn Spanish and expose him as naturally as can be, and I will allow him to decide what he wants to do when he gets older. And if he picks up Spanish, great. And if he doesn't, that's okay too. At least I know, at least at least I know that he is exposed to all of his cultural languages, all different types of modalities. And that's kind of my perspective for my son. So on the left side top, Enrique is enjoying a lunch with his grandpa in Mexico. In the bottom, he is enjoying baking cookies with grandma, and that's my parents from my side. And on the other side, it is grandma on the top. We just came out of church in Mexico. It was Palm Sunday. And then on the bottom, he was with his grandpa. He was about 18 months old. Um, and he passed a little bit after, but his grandpa got to meet him. And we're so blessed to have that opportunity. Resources for families, language and communication, resources for families for deaf and hard of hearing children. Every family's language matters, whether you use American Sign Language, English, Spanish, Polish, or another home language, your child benefits most when communication is loving, consistent, and accessible. These trusted organizations and tools can help you get started. We have a couple of resources for family and support and guidance. We also have resources for learning American Sign Language, and a really cool feature that Anita made sure that I included was the bilingual story bookshelf, which is really great, actually. I did see the product, and pretty much it's stories, books, virtual books, and there's different modalities that you could choose from. It could be only in sign, it could be only in spoken, or it could be total communication where they sign and they speak at the same time. So that is a really great way to bond with your child reading a book. And bilingual and multicultural resources as well. And all of these resources I will provide in an email with a PDF with the links interactive, so you can click and go direct to the website and you guys can explore a little bit more. But finally, your language is your child's foundation. Either speaking, signing, and share stories in the language of your heart, because connection comes before words. These are the references we use for this presentation. And we wanted to thank you so much for taking some time out of your busy day and connecting with us tonight. And we really do appreciate your time. This is my email and Anita's email as well. Please feel free to reach out to us with any questions, concerns. We're more than happy to support you guys along the way. We will open up for questions, discussions, anything you guys would like, and we will stop the recording so that everyone can